Hey guys, very good evening. So, as you know, I was waiting for the participants to join in the session. So, as discussed yesterday, so some people felt difficulty in joining the session and accessing the recording link. So, hope that has been sorted and everyone can join the session as an easy way. So, still, if you face any kind of trouble, just let me know. So, we will keep sorting those things. And I hope you all followed till yesterday. And today we will see something like the programmatic structure, how we're gonna code in the Salesforce and what kind of programming language we use in the Salesforce, basic understanding, and what are the basic interview questions we can expect in the Salesforce as an fresher. As an fresher, we don't dive that deeper into the Salesforce programming. We just see the basic understanding what kind of questions can we expect in the interview point. Okay, and if you are interested in asking something, you please post me on the Q&A. I always welcome questions from your side to give an answers. Please confirm whether my audio is audible to you all right. So still I don't see the maximum number of the participants has been reached. So I will be on mute for some time. Soon we see the maximum number we reach for the session and we will start moving into the concepts. And meanwhile, you can ask me the question like regarding last 3 sessions. It's 4th session, right? So you can ask me anything to be clarified or any corrections required in any of these sessions. I am happy to do things, and you can also ask me anything related to the session or anything related to the interview point or anything related to the career phase meanwhile. So I'm just waiting for the participants to join. Please pull out your buddies to the session. So once I see there is a maximum number has been reached for this session attendees, so we will start the concept for this day. So what questions will mostly get in the interviews for the Salesforce developer? See that's where that's very tough to guess and a questions exactly what we can expect for the fresher. But as per the basic understanding of checking at the previous experience, all those things. So we have designed some question bank with us, and definitely we share that question bank in tomorrow's session, or else I asked him to share the document in the mail also. Either of any way you will get that document, and please refer the document. Once again, good evening everyone. So tomorrow session I am unable to join. Ujjwal, I can't do anything on that case. So let me start sharing my actual screen. So as you know, I will share my entire screen to make a better understanding wherever I move from the tab to tab. Please do confirm, is my screen visible to you and is my voice clearly audible to you? Any disturbance from my side, please let me know. I will change my network or I will change the perspective of going forward. So now we want a Salesforce account even to be logged in, and meanwhile let me log into the Salesforce account. So these are the credentials we were using. You know, my thumb that doesn't work. Let me go to the pin. That go. Hitting on login. So that's where my login has been happened to the Salesforce account. Cool. Okay, and let me open this Excel sheet where we were aware of all these days, right? Day 1, day 2, day 3. So, yep, day 1, day 2, yes, and so day 3. Yeah, cool. And let me start within a day 4. Day 4. So today we will go for the instead of declarative, so we will go the programmatic approach. Okay, when I start like this, the first question, the basic questions, what you can expect is what kind of programming language is used in the Salesforce? What kind of programming language is used in Salesforce? I know you all can answer for this. That's Apex. I know you all can answer for that. That is Apex. Yeah, as expected, you have pasted Apex, and along with that, I also have some more things like HTML, web development, okay, and CSS and JavaScript. You are right, the one who mentioned like Apex, HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Oh, Visual Force. Yeah, cool, accepted. So primarily, we will talk something about the Apex today. And again, followed question I can take over there. So what is Apex? Tell me it's a programming language. Yes, you can tell, but still you have a counter question for that. Then what beyond that, what else I can expect from you? What is Apex? Okay, either you get this question directly or either you get this question directly. So when you have this question, you have a readily made answer, that is Apex. When you have this question, then what you're going to do? So then answer would be like this. This is a programming language, yes, and which is similar to Java. Which is similar to Java. Please don't feel like basic questions I'm teaching you today. Which is similar to Java. And here I have an out of the box question for you. Is Java case sensitive or case insensitive? Is Java case sensitive or case insensitive? Even Java, right? Is Java case sensitive or case insensitive? Ishwar is very curious, and Ishwar give me answer like Apex is in a strongly typed language used at the server side to make custom features in Salesforce. Appreciate you, Ishwar. Yes, you are right, exactly. So you can also frame a question such answer for that such question. Okay, Apex is in a strongly typed language used at the server side to make custom features. Make custom features or to customize, you can also use here to customize features in the Salesforce. Okay, then you are right. Java is in a case sensitive language where Apex is in a case insensitive. So either you can use capital letters or small letters as in a keywords. Apex is in a case insensitive one keyword. And when you go, I have a guess question here. Visual is very curious about this, telling that case sensitive, I guess. Your guess is right for Java, but Apex is in a case insensitive. So this is the keyword. Okay. So which kind of environment do you use to code in Salesforce? Which kind of environment you use to code in Salesforce? Let's suppose if I'm asking you to code Java, so you might be going for the any other environment IDEs. Either you can go for the prompt, command prompt, right? So if you want to code in Salesforce, Salesforce itself has its own compiler. Okay, so we call that as a developer console. Developer console. We call that as a developer console. For an idea, the one who are not having an idea, let me show you the developer console. So here where I am there on the Salesforce account, and if you see, this is the setup we call, and when I click on this, you have something called developer console. Right, it gets opened, and let me open once again for your case. So let me open like this. Okay, there you go. So this is in a developer console. Already something is written here. Let me go for new file. Okay, let it be. So these things we can take as an example. So this is a basic syntax. I can also consider like we have an 4 access modifiers actually in Apex. Let me come here again. So no worries. Okay, so that's where it started with the developer console. So itself, Salesforce itself has its own environment, and that environment we call as a developer console, or else we can also write in the Visual Studio Code, and I can also pull the code from the VS Code. So now you please don't ask me how do I do this. Now, if you ask me that question, that is out of the feature it is going to be. So from the VS Code also we can write the code and we can pull that to the Salesforce account. Okay. And other side, when I go for the Java like Apex, so let me give you a basic syntax of an Apex. So let me copy it directly from this developer console. So this looks very fine actually. So till this part. Okay, if I paste here, and this is going to mine. So here we do like the logic. After we close the bracket. It's a very simple thing. So public, and this public is nothing but we have an access modifier, we call it. If I'm dividing that line of syntax into the understanding. Access modifier, we call that. Okay, now I have a question. You can go to the Google and you can come up. What are the different types of access modifiers available in the Salesforce? Apex. Salesforce in the sense Apex. Types of modifiers. What is your answer? Please come up with your answer now. Okay, Ishwar is a bit curious. Yes, Ishwar, you are right. Okay, we have enough 4 types of access modifiers. 4 types. Let me give like this. We have enough 4 types of access modifiers. One is global, public, private, and protected. So if you want to make the piece of code which you're writing in the Apex to be available globally, then you go within a global access modifier. And something if you're mentioning or something if you're not mentioning, then that defaultly take as a public. Defaultly take as a public. So when you make this in a public, all the members in your organizations, can be accessed. Access the piece of code which is in the organization. Okay, when you make it private, only the desired members in the organization will be able to access a piece of code. When it comes for the protected, so you can't call other class which is there in the protected access modifier. So let's suppose this is in a class 1. Sorry, I was missing here logic here. Actually, let me discuss once again about the private. So let's come like this. Class 1, class A. Let me go class A, and in that we have in a class B. Okay. So when this is private, so what happens is, so within this code we can use any variable, and within this code we can use any logics which can be called from the class A to class B. But when that is protected, if such class is protected, you can't call that variables into the other class. So that's where the simple difference between the global, public, private, protected. If that is protected, so all the things are individual and independent to each other. So if that is private, then within the class we can pull out the code. And if that is public, so publicly you can call any logic or any variable from the class A to B, B to C, any according to your requirement. And if that is global, something which is available within the organization, entire organization. Like in organization there are like 10 users, and for all the 10 users this is globally available. Clear? Make some sense? Is that clear? Give me thumbs up or raising hand, something to make me feel like okay, you got this point and I can move forward. Okay, I want to expect on the Q&A, not on the raising thumbs or so private only within the organization can access it. Private, yes. See, whatever the code you are writing, so that code is only accessible within the organization. Out of the organization, if you want to do that, again, you need to use an external objects or external resources to push the code from the one organization to other organization. So within the organization, if you see, if that is global, so the piece of code what you have been wrote, a piece of class which you have been wrote can be accessed within the organization. If that is public, then what happens is like from the class to class it can be varied. And if that is protected, so the protected class can be moved to the other class. When that is private, sorry, I think that is private. When that is protected, there is no chance that moving one class into the other class. If that is private, then it can be moved from the one class to other class. When that is public, it's open that you can move any class to other class. When that is global, so all the organization members who are there in that company particularly, they can pull out anything they want from one class to other class. You want me to tell 1 second public? Okay, let me give one more thing. So if that is public, that means, so if that is public, so within the organization, so they can move the code from the one class to other class. That means, so within the lines of code, let's suppose I started a code here and something like this. Okay, then my code has been ended here. Let's assume I'm not writing any code lines because I just don't want to make you confused. Okay, here I have something called a variable like this, v equals to 1, 2, 3. Okay, and here I do have one more class. Let's assume that. So we have one more class. So if that is public, and I can pull this variable to here. That's all. If that is private, within the code you can pull. If that is protected, so there is no chance of pulling the code from the before class to the other class. And if that is global, so this variable I can call into the other program also, other code also you can call it. Okay, that's global and public within the lines of code, and private. So this is going to be private, and if something else, then you can call. If that is protected, no chance of passing the variable from one class to other class. Now again, give me a thumbs up. Give me a 1 as a response so that everyone, I feel like 1 as a response to the chat so that I can feel like that is understandable for you. That's clear. See, the expected questions you can expect it is like, what are the different types of access modifiers? Even though this is related to the Salesforce or not related to the Salesforce, if someone wants to ask you a question in the basic programming language, the first question they can ask, what is access modifiers? And this is the 4 access modifiers. If you see, when you talk about the Java, you will be having only 3. Sorry, when someone talks about the Java, you will be having only 3, and global, public, private. Only in the Salesforce, only in the Apex, I mean, the protected has been added. 4 access modifiers in the Salesforce, and 3 access modifiers we will have in the Java. Cool. And when you talk about this, okay, so when you talk about the Apex, we have this. These are the 4. Clear, everyone? Please give me a response as a 1 in the chat so that I can confirm and move over. Clear, expecting that is clear. Wanted to, oh, good. We have done a chat response from Harika telling something in brief detailing. So let me copy that. Let me paste that also for your understanding, because I'm going to share this document with you, so where you can revise quickly, like what are the different topics we have been discussed. So here it went wrong. D. Okay, simple things. And thanks, Harika, helping with such kind of short descriptions. Okay, if you see global reverse, we were discussing global, visible to any Apex code regardless of the class. Yep, that means any Apex code. So like so one class to other class also it is visible, and private it is going to be visible to any code that has access within that class. So within that class, that means on a set of code. So within that class, we can move any lines of variable or anything you want, and protected, visible within the class and its subclass. And private, it's going to be visible only with the class wherever it's defined. Cool then. So let me move forward. So we are done with the basic, and this is the syntax. It's going for the Java, so, and you can't expect mostly. Never I seen that people are asking me for the syntax of an Apex, but you can expect for the syntax for the trigger, and we will come to the trigger. Give me some more time. Okay. So when I talk about the Apex, there are two types of things which are going in the Apex, like synchronous and the asynchronous. And we don't stress that much for the synchronous, but we will stress something for the asynchronous. And again, in the asynchronous, we do have multiple types like batch future, and two more things: batch future, schedule Apex. Something I'm missing. Let me pull out that. And we have something called important concepts, like which is important in the Salesforce, particularly governor limits. Okay, governor limits. What are governor limits? Any ideas? Any cases from your side? What are governor limits and why we require? Why we require? It's an extreme question. Like even this question will be expected with the candidates who are having 2 years, 3 years of experience also. So let me check. Any one of you can answer me for this. Please don't make a copy paste from the Google this time. Yep, you are right. Who is trying? Ishwar, yep, you are right. Batch, schedule, future, queuable. This is the four different types we have in the asynchronous Apex. And the followed question, I was only giving you. Ishwar, sorry, I didn't get you on the last point, like to grant additional access to users without changing the profile. So for which question of mine you are giving that answer? Yeah, I have two questions from my side. So first question is like, what are governor limits and why we require? Expecting answer from your side, your end. Let's see how many of you are going to answer for this. It's like rules and regulations or like a limitation. Someone. Okay. Governor limits. Okay, Ishwar is giving a clarity over the answer of what have been given over there. Governor limits are the limits is used in SOQL and SOSL for DML statements, not particular. Okay, this is the one given by the answer given by the Navin Kumar. And Ishwar is telling that to grant additional access to users without changing their profile. No, Ishwar, this time you are wrong. STEM limits are used to grant additional access to users without changing. No, Ishwar, you are wrong this time. Let me give a clarity from my side. Constraints of Apex code. Oh, Kailasa. Even you are not that correct at this level. Okay, the one who is the Navin Kumar. Navin Kumar, you are very near to that, and still we can make smart for that answer you have been given. Okay, I have also have an answer from the Harika telling that resource utilization limit which prevents Salesforce resources. Yes, technically your answer is right, but technically speaking, when you give this answer, definitely you would have any counter answers for that, counter questions for that. Runtime constraints on the Apex engines to prevent individual codes from monopolizing sharing resource. Really, I was pretty interested about these answers here because your answers are on the level like 3 years experience candidate, 4 years experience candidate who might giving these kind of answers. You are to that level. If you're giving that from your side directly, I really appreciate. If you're copying that from the Google, I don't appreciate for that. Governor limits fairly distribute computing resources among the different users. Yes, true. But still, I'm expecting a very simple question. Okay, I tell you mine version. Simple answer and no counter question will be expecting on this. So governor limits are the limits imposed by the Salesforce to run the Salesforce platform very smoothly. Do I need to write that? Did you get that? Governor limits are the limits imposed by the Salesforce to run the Salesforce platform smoothly. I don't want why they were doing this. My question is like why we want governor limits. Governor limits are the some such kind of limits which are imposed by the Salesforce. So why they have been imposed? Because they want to run the Salesforce platform very smoothly. Done. Limits what your code can do or what cannot do in Salesforce. You are all following my answer. You are all following me answer. Please, if you are following me answer, please give me hand raise once so that I feel like you are catching my answer. I feel like you are all catching my answer. You want me to repeat my answer? Okay, Harika, even you are see Harika before also you gave one answer. Even that is true. See, most of you people are right at this level, but see the complexity of your answer is going very deeper. I don't want that deeper for a fresher level to be given because when you give such kind of answer, what happens is obviously the expectation gets move to the next level. Either they might asking you the next level question to that, or they feel like you have been butterfied something, but directly you are doing some kind of malpractice and delete. See, a simple answer I'm giving for this governor limits. Let me write this. Let me write this. Let me write this. I shouldn't miss this. Okay. So I'm going with that. Governor limits are the limits imposed by Salesforce to run the Salesforce platform smoothly. Governor limits are the limits imposed by Salesforce to run the Salesforce platform smoothly. Clear? Why we required governor limits? I gave half answer over here. So then let me change this to what are governor limits? So this time I want to discuss something in depth. Like what is the least of the governor limit, something like that. And don't worry about this. I will directly go to Google. See, I'm nowhere. If I'm not remembering, also I can go here and do such kind of things, which you can also follow. And directly, where do I go? I only go for the Salesforce documentations. Okay, we have a limit. So this is a limit. This and in order to remember all these things in a regular coding practice, we go through this and we will check cross check multiple times. But for you, you need not to remember all these things. At least you find out the top 5 things which are most important. Top 5 things which are most important. So yeah, noted. This thing is important. People will be expecting with this, even this. Okay, and bus. These 2 things, and let me go with this. Just remember 4 to 5 things, and even this is also important. Basic requirements. Like these, the remaining part is also a governor limits from the Salesforce. Yep, this is one more thing. Keep memory. They will be expecting multiple things. Okay, that like let me copy this. Okay, so like just remember these 4 things. Most like in such a way you can tell like in such a way we have multiple limits. Just we need to cross check when we go for the real time. That's so first thing is total number of SOQL queries issued in one transaction. If that is synchronous suffix, So 100, and if that is asynchronous apex, 200. Now, if someone is not aware of all this concept, then you have a question, then what is this SOQL again? What you're talking about, you might be asking. So we will come to this SOQL in some time. Okay, total number of records retrieved by SOQL queries. So SOQL is in a query language, and you might be having idea SQL in regular terms we will call, and this is a replica of SOQL is a replica of an SQL. In Salesforce, we call that as an SQL. In Salesforce, we have two types of query languages. Two query languages. Like there are two query languages in Salesforce. Query languages. So they are like SOQL and SOSL. So if you ask me, so for what SOQL stands, Salesforce Object Query Language directly, Salesforce Object Query Language. And when you come for the SOSL, can I get any guesses? Any guesses from your side? Is batch apex is type of apex? Yes, batch apex is also a apex, where in the batch apex, the transaction limit will be high. We'll discuss that. We are on the yes, Ishwar, you are right. It's a sets language. Salesforce object sets language. Yes, that's in a query language. This is in a sets language. Then if I ask you the differentiate between these two things, what one point you are going to tell? What one valid point you are going to tell from your side? So this time, structure, it's not structured language. Someone are like a structured language. It's not structured language, sets language. Salesforce object sets language. Salesforce object. Salesforce object, it's a sets language. And it's in a query language, you can see here. So these are the two query languages which are there in the Salesforce. And these are some limits they do have. And asynchronous limits are this part, and asynchronous limits are this part. Okay. So just remember some of these things. Total number of record retrieved by a single query. Yep, even this is important. How would I miss this? Okay. Okay, going back there. So, yeah, I have an answer for the difference between these two. Okay, let me take retrieves data using select keyword, retrieves data using find keyword. Okay, Kalyan, you are right, but with this answer, still I can expect more. This is not that exact thing what I'm expecting. So what is the major? Yes, you are right here. So in SOQL, we use select as a keyword. So if you ask me the syntax of the SOQL, select ID, select a field, like it goes like this, right here. Yep, there. So it goes like this. Select field on object from, sorry, select ID from object. So this is the basic syntax, and from this you can frame anything you want. Like what are the data you wanna fetch? Such things you can do with that things. They can also there's where we can use multiple keywords over there, like where, from, things. Okay, and this is a basic thing of an SOQL. When you go for an SOSL, so it will come like this. Find any text you can give, you can give that text also. Find text in all So find is going to be a keyword in this, and select is going to be a keyword in this. Fields of object. Then which object you gonna select? Okay, SOQL is in a synchronous, SOSL is in a asynchronous. No, you are wrong, Kalyan. So both you can use for the synchronous and as well as an asynchronous. SOQL is used when we know the exact location. Oh, something on here. SOSL is used when we don't know the exact location and is used to search for a text. Yeah, that is not used for a text. That is particularly okay. This okay. So like a good answer from Ishwar. So SOQL is used to use it when you know the exact location. So if you see here, select field from object. I can tell account object from account object. You select some field and give me. So direct I know where this has been located. Then when you come here, SOSL, what happens is it's in a search language. So if I'm not knowing exactly, so what I can do is like find Rakesh in account, find Rakesh in account. So then it's in a search, it sets within a Rakesh keyword. Rakesh keyword in the text format. If I type here Rakesh, so skip. Okay, so find Rakesh in account. So then from that, fine. So that was a major difference. Hope now you got all these things. Okay, and I have one more answer like SOQL from single or related object, SOSL for multiple objects and fields. SOSL for single or related object and SOSL for multiple objects and fields. Multiple objects and fields. See, even I can go for the SOQL also, I can go for the multiple objects. Yep, you are right. Yep, you are right, Jayshree. So SOQL is particularly for the single object. You have a particular point or particular location, you know, where the record is located, then you directly go for the SOQL. Okay. Then we are not exactly known like in which object or in which record we have a particular text mentioned over. Then you go for the multiple object search. So it generally SOSL search for the entire database in the Salesforce, where SQL particularly checks for the particular point of the object which you are searching for. Please explain with an example. Definitely I do whenever I open. Let me do that. Don't worry, I do that. I write in a query for the SOQL and I write in a query for the SOSL. Don't worry. Okay, so let me check with more answers. What answers I have been expecting more. So trades, all these things. Okay. Cool then. So let me go back again to the Excel. So where we are again. I will write a query in the Salesforce and retrieve the data for the both SOSL and SOQL. So we will see that. Okay, and we are done with this. And so next thing we will be discussing something called as an important point as an asynchronous and asynchronous I was telling, right? So when I call Apex, so the two things in the Apex has mentioned asynchronous and asynchronous. Okay, I given a small thing like what is asynchronous and what is synchronous. Let me come back here. So Apex I call this. Here I do call this as an here I do call this synchronous. Synchronous Apex. And I also call another thing is synchronous. Two things. So in the asynchronous, if you see your limits, let me go to the limits. So if your target is less than 100 records using an SOQL, then such kind of operations we call as a synchronous Apex. And if your target is getting more, then you go for an asynchronous. In the asynchronous methods, we have multiple methods, such things like a batch. Already have been pasted somewhere, I feel. Someone gave this answer already. Some of you gave answer. No, no one. No worries. Let me write. Batch apex. You can mention from your side what are the four things we have been discussed. Two answers I got. There are like four: batch, schedule, queuable, and future. Batch, schedule, future. Future apex. Okay, when I talk about the batch, again in the batch, I have three methods involved. So when I talk particularly about the batch now, in the batch, I have three things involved, and I call that as a methods. And the first method, second method, and the third method. And the first method is going to be start. Important. I don't bother about these three things. Definitely, if they were asking you about what is apex, you give the answer. Then second question, when you tell that asynchronous apex and asynchronous apex we have, then you would tell like, so if because we have these two things, because we have a governor limits in the Salesforce, and due to the governor limits, asynchronous and the synchronous apex is there, where asynchronous apex has been divided into four types again. So batch apex, future apex, queuable apex, and schedule apex. Then next expected question will be, what is batch apex? In batch apex. In the batch apex, we have three types of methods. And the first method is going to be start, and second method is going to be execute. Execute, start, execute, and finish. Okay, you told this. Then next expected question we can expect is, what is start, what is execute, what is finish? What is start, what is execute, what is finish? So this defines the scope of a record to be processed. Start defines the scope of the record to be processed. So which records to be processed, it defines the scope of the records. Okay, and executes defines a process each batch of records. So that means in a piece of code, we can include multiple batches. Why to process multiple batches? Because each batch can retrieve or can perform a DML operations. A limit is going to be 200. Why? How I'm telling 200? Because SQL limit is going to be 200 and SOSL limit is going to be 20. So if I'm writing a query based on the SOQL, then in a batch I can only process 200 records. So if I'm calling batch, then only I can write multiple transactions. If I'm calling synchronous apex directly, there is no chance that I can execute multiple records. So that's where I go for the batch apex, and in that batch apex, I have a limitation for one transaction. In a one transaction, I can retrieve only 200 records. In that way, if I have 10,000 records, then I go for 10,000 divided by 200. So what is the result? So that many batches you will be running. That many batches you will be running, and each batch will takes only 200 records, and they will get the data, and from the data again it go for the next batch, again it go for the next batch in such a way. So multiple batches, and the transaction limit is going to be 200, and this is default value. 200 is going to be a default value. If you want to increase the value, that is not possible. But if you want to decrease the value, you need to define the limit. Define the limit, you can make like 100, 200 for a batch as possible. But default value speaking as in 200, there is no chance that you can increase the number because governor limits are like 200. Governor limits are like 200. Your batch future queuable, if you are smart, after from my answer, you copied, right? I don't feel, because I believe like you also answered previously, like what are the different methods we have. Yes, Ishwar, again, you are right. Start, execute, and the finish are the three different methods. And the start, it starts within a defines the scope of the records to be processed, and execute is in a kind of thing like it processes the each and every batch. What does it do? It processes the each and every batch. So once the process is done, then the final step, it includes execute post-process logics. Execute post-process logics. Let's suppose, so what does it do? Second, process each batch. Once this process is done, then the final step, it is going to finish, right? So in this, what does it do? The post-process activities to be performed. Like let's suppose for all this data, we need to send an email, or we need to do a field updation, or we need to do some kind of other activities. Then such kind of activities will be taken care here. In this third step, finish, like field update or any other things. Field update, again, don't think about that, like that kind of activities will be there. Other side, if you want log in to the access, log into the any other system. Okay, something like this. So this is the main thing. And other side, if you see, and future method, if you want start, and annotation get started with the at the rate future. At the rate future. It's not take. Okay, so at the rate future is going to be the annotation used for the future method. And schedule and queuable is nothing but schedule is like you can define some particular time, and for that time automatically the execution takes place. And other side, queuable is nothing but it's like in a queue. So you will define the system like first you execute this code, and then after you execute this code, and then after you execute this code. So that's why we deal with the execution, asynchronous and the synchronous. So this is the difference between the synchronous and asynchronous. Hope you all got that clearly understood, and do let me know if you have any questions on the Q&A again. Clear? Put jobs in queue and execute separately. Yes, Ishwar, you are very excited. Okay, so I'm expecting a chat answer from you all, putting one as a response over the chat, telling that you have been understood what exactly we are discussing. Response. I don't want you to raise or tell a hi in the session. So I want you all to respond over the Q&A, mentioning as a one as a response. So which makes me to feel that you are there on my point. Only two responses I got. I think you all people are not having good internet. Smart guy mentioned 10. So 12 responses I got. Can you explain the method in batch Apex, giving an example? Yes, I can do that, but I don't feel that depth is required in this session. So if you want, what I can do is like I can give you a small example. You can directly go for an Apex. See, you have a source, like you are not utilizing the source as an agents technologies. You go ChatGPT, you give a prompt on the same thing, asking ChatGPT, that helps you a lot. So let me show you the same thing. Ishwar, this is for you particularly. Just changing small thing in your prompt. Okay. Let me figure out an example and let me okay, again. Yeah, it's generating. Yep, you can see start execute methods. So this is the basic method, and this is how it starts. Okay, so what we are going to do here, so here we are going to do these activities. Select all accounts with an annual revenue greater than 1 million. So it is fetching the records in the account object, in the account object where annual revenue is greater than 1 million. Then return database.qdt, okay, it is taking, and this is the SOQL query. This is the SOQL query. So select ID and name, rating, annual revenue again field from account, and this is the limitation where. So this is the filter where annual revenue is going to be greater than 1 million. And then we start this and finish method. So if you see here, there will be three methods. It gets involved. Start method. So it started taking up the data. Executing each and every thing, and then after we go and we will see finish method. Okay, and this is the best practice that how we follow. That's the reason we have two things over here. ChatGPT write the Apex code. It has written, right? Yes, ChatGPT can write Apex code, but ChatGPT is not trained on the particularly Salesforce, so you can't rely on the code which is given by the ChatGPT. So always you need to cross check the codes which has been given by the ChatGPT. And in Salesforce, we have something called Agent Force. In Salesforce, we have something called Agent Force, which is under development. Once that is open for everyone, so that Agent Force can give an exact code of what you are expecting in your org particularly. For your org particularly, what kind of database you have, and those things you can expect directly on the Agent Force. Point-to-point code it will be giving you directly. Define the scope means giving the number of records to operate. Define the scope means giving the number of records to operate. You are right. Ishwar, you are right. So that means define the scope in the sense where it should go, where it should take the records, all these things. So like in the start method itself, you have a query, right? So that means what are this query is telling, and go to that object, and from that object you take out of these fields and get me that data and show me in the variable. And from that variable, we are comparing that variable to according to our filter. And if that filter gets matched, so then you execute the batch operations, what is happening. Once the batch operation is done, and the later we will go to the finish method. Start, execute, finish. These are the three things. Clear, everyone? And can we make Agent Force write it? So Sai, Vedant, you expect like Agent Force to write in a code? Yes, that's what I'm telling you. Right? Yes, Agent Force is an AI feature which is adopted by the Salesforce, and we have a great features going to happen in the Agent Force, and soon we will launch some webinar for all openly. So you can join this, and you can also have an awareness of the Agent Force. Yes, Agent Force can write in a code for the Salesforce. So Agent Force can also integrate it within a VS Code. From the VS Code also, you can pull out the codes, and you can directly deploy the codes. So basic question again. So moving from the Salesforce to again in basic programming language. What are the collection frames? Or what are the collections? Visual, you are right. Yes, we need to enable the Einstein in the Salesforce org to start creating a your first agent. See, in my experience from last 3 years, I was dealing with this kind of internship, and for the career fair, I'm giving an uh, career guidance for a Salesforce, how to crack a Salesforce interview for the particularly career fair. Particularly, this is for the TCS target, I feel. So there is no such expecting questions from the interviewer asking you to share the screen and write a code. In barist case, if you are lucky, they will be asking you. Okay, and I have an answer for that collections. We have it in three collections. List, set, map in the Salesforce. These are the three collections we have in the Salesforce. Okay, and again, if you want, then what is list, what is set, what is map? List, set, and map. So list, set, map. Okay, I have one more answer. Collection is used to store different values in a single location. True collection is this, and these are the collection types. Camel case map isn't map is int and id. Okay, in the basic understanding, int and id. List is ordered collection. You are right, and set is an unordered connection. One thing. List is an ordered connection, and set is an unordered connection. You can call. And one more point, if you want to mention about the list allows duplicates, and where set doesn't allow the duplicates. Set doesn't allow the duplicates. And when you talk about the map, it's in a key value pair. Key value pair in the sense for every value which you are going to store in the map, and for that we have a key, and for that key we have a value. For that we have a value. Okay, allows duplicates. Allows duplicates and doesn't allow duplicates. Okay, and this is going to be a key value pair, and key will be always it's going to be unique, and under the value you can define how many values you want to define. You can define that one number of values. Okay, list is collection. It shows duplicates, and list is an ordered, and list duplicate allows. Set not allows duplicates. Yes, not in map key not allowed duplicate values. Okay, key doesn't allow the duplicates. You are right, but in the value it allows duplicate values. So even this point is also right. And the list allows indexing, and set doesn't allow indexing. Okay, so it allows indexing, and set doesn't allow the indexing. it is mutable, it is not mutable. So that level not required. That level is required in the Python actually. So for us, and even index also we won't check most of the time. So only we always go for SQL operations. In the SQL operations, how much we required is we should remember that it's an list is an ordered and set is an unordered. List allows duplicates and set doesn't allows duplicates. These four things are fine. These four things are fine. With that we can proceed. Clear, right? So if that is clear, and the next topic we're going to discuss is automation using programming. Automation using programming. So the first thing in the automation we comes with a trigger. Then followed question, what is trigger? What is trigger? Mahendra, you are right. Map keys are unique, but values are multiple. True, you are true. Okay. Then for that followed question. What is trigger? What is trigger? What is trigger? Trigger. What is trigger in Salesforce? A piece of code that executes before and after a DML operation. Exactly. Perfect answer. Okay. What is trigger? A trigger is a piece of code that executes before and after a DML operation. Before or after a DML operation. Then again, what are the DML operations? What are DML operations? DML operations are like how many questions for this? What is trigger? Let me go through all. It is a one type of data code. Okay, trigger helps us to perform custom actions before and after event. Yogita, even you are right, but this is a perfect piece of line we can tell. It's a traditional answer I always follow. A piece of code that executes before or after an email operation. Even your answer is also 100% right. There is no change in that. Trigger helps us to perform custom actions before or after an event. Okay, then we will come for the events. Okay, okay, we're talking about the DML operations, and before that, we need to talk something about the trigger events. Okay, trigger events, and what is trigger, right? And followed to that, we also have something called what are trigger types? Trigger types. So trigger types, there are two types of triggers: after trigger, before trigger, and after trigger. After trigger. And trigger events we will discuss, and what are DML operations before to that. So DML operations are like insert, update, upsert, insert, update, upsert, delete. Okay, so these are the DML operations: insert, update, delete, upsert, got it. Insert, update. Yep. These are the DML operations. So if you want to insert a record, if you want to update a record, if you want to upset a record, you might be having a question: what is upset? So upset is in a combination of insert, update, and we also have some other DML operations like perk. Tell me what is perk. Go to Google and find what is perk. So perk is something like permanent delete. Permanent delete. So these operations we can perform using a third-party applications like Workbench. We can directly have this operation over there. Okay, so these are the DML operations. DML stands for data manipulation language. DML stands for data manipulation language, and these are the different operations we can perform on the DML operations. Let me come back to the trigger answer. A piece of code that executes before or after a DML operation. So a piece of code, a line of code which executes either on a before or on a after or on a both and DML operation. Okay, so there are two types of trigger, before trigger and after trigger, and there are like 7 events in the trigger events. There are 7 trigger events. 7 trigger events. So like in before we have 4, and after we have 3. Delete, and we also have like this. Delete, undelete. Okay. It comes like this. Before insert, before update, before delete, and before delete. So you don't have any before undelete, and after undelete we have. So that's where we only have an 4 operations. And when you come here, after insert, after update, after delete, and after undelete. So why we don't have an before undelete is like, if something is deleted, then only something is exists in the before. So that's the reason we don't have an before undelete operation. So we have a 7 trigger events and 2 triggers, and this is in a trigger code, and these are the DML operations. Makes clear? So this is most of it. Everything what I have been mentioned here, you will be expecting question. You can expect all the questions. So basically, when it starts within a programming languages, what happens is, if that is Salesforce, first thing you will be expecting is like, what is trigger? Sorry, what is apex? And if that is clear, they won't ask you all these things, like what is this batch or all this. They come for here directly. Okay, then second question, what is trigger? What are the different types of triggers, and what are the trigger events, and what are the DML operations we can perform using trigger? And other thing they would expect is like a best practice of writing a trigger. Best practice of writing a trigger. I'm just copying the same and going back to the chat GPT. Let me expect what it is going to give. So giving that and expecting answer. So there is some best practices that you need to follow for writing in a trigger. So that's like, you need to use in a handler, one trigger, one object, one trigger. You should avoid writing logics within the loops. It is giving very complex things. Simple. I want a very simple answers. If that is that complex, I can also tell, but I am expecting very simple. This is best practice of writing trigger in simple answer. Using meaningful more logics with a function, avoid logic trigger loops. One important point. Okay, add comments always one important point, and other things what I'm expecting it is not giving. Okay, and always we need to write one trigger for one object. one trigger for one object. Okay. Avoid writing logics in the loops. So what happens is when you write in a logic in the loop, what happens is loop is nothing but iterating, right? So let's suppose we are trying to write in a code for the 100 records. And in these 100 records, one record I need to update. One record update. So I don't know where this record is situated in these 100 records. Then what I do is like, I tell to the code telling that you pick all these 100 records and match with the filter what I'm giving here. Then what does it do? It goes to all these records and iterates all the time. 100 iteration is taking here. If I write a logic in the loop, if I'm writing a logic out of the loop, then the function gets matched, only one record finds, and automatically we can perform any activities we want. So that was the difference. Why to write a logic outside of the loop? Okay, and that thing. Use a handler, trigger handler. So you don't need to write in a trigger directly. Always you need to use a trigger handler. So that means you need to call the trigger from the apex. Call the trigger from apex all the time. So that's where I call as a trigger handler. Use trigger handler. So three main things, very fair. Three things, very good enough. You know to go for that complex again. Okay, and yes, this is the most important point. Second and third, three things are enough. Okay, and one more question you can expect is like trigger syntax. Syntax of a trigger. So this they can expect you to write in the chart window, something like that. And see, basic thing I tell you how to identify the trigger syntax. So trigger syntax starts like this with the trigger keyword, trigger, trigger name, trigger name, trigger name, on object, trigger name, trigger on which object, and in the bracket trigger events. In the bracket trigger events. What are the trigger events? Sorry, types, trigger type. Either trigger type before trigger or after trigger. Trigger type, and here you will be writing your logics. Here you will be writing your logic. Or logic, we call, or even we call that as a DML operation. Or trigger or trigger DML or PERH here one operation. Understand this again, trigger name, on object, trigger type, and then after our code or logic, whatever we do, or DML operation which you are going to perform. Cool. So basic understanding, trigger name, on object, trigger type. So that's what the understanding of a trigger. Hope that is clear. Any questions? Let me go that. So see, there is no chance. Mostly they will be asking you to write in a trigger code because for the fresher they won't expect. But there is a chance they can expect. What is the third point in the trigger? Okay, this one. Trigger handler. So directly we couldn't write a trigger telling that in the trigger everything we couldn't write that. We need to use a trigger handler. That means in the Apex we need to define the method and we need to define the constructor and that constructor to be called in the trigger. Constructor. Again, we are going very deep to the coding. I don't want you guys to take to that level into the coding because that level they won't expect. Very basic we are discussing, we should be there. Constructor. We need to call that constructor in the trigger. So in the ChatGPT, we have a code generator, right? So somewhere it went. Open here. No, I think this one. Yep. Here, if you see here, so it start building on the constructor actually. So if you see here, this is an Apex code. So level, and this is going to be a constructor. So that's how we need to write trigger handlers. So we write every logic in the apex, and from the apex we will call the trigger. Yep. Kusani, you are right. Exactly thing what we have been mentioned, you have been repeated on the chat. Ishwar, if we believe like that is clear. And here I want to keep attention toward the session. Everyone, please let me know any queries from your side. And I also want to confirm that you are all following me, and any questions you can raise your voice at this level. I want to go for an mute for a minute. No, in the sense for what Hemant you are expecting, what you are expecting, what for that no is for. Okay, so let me ask everyone to give in a two as a response in the chat, which makes me to feel like you are all following me. So this time we are going with the 202 in the Q&A section. No doubts, sir. Still now. Okay, yeah. Thanks for clarifying that. 202 is a response code for this time, making that okay. 02, it's 20. Okay, 02 is a response code this time. Please, can you just read the third point in the best practices that I can not down? So trigger, you just see, I don't want to complex. Let me delete this actually, and I can mention like this. Use a trigger handler. So direct point I can tell is like use a trigger handler. You can go and check from your side. What is trigger handler? Can you please give me an example? Okay, everyone till this point, everyone is clear, right? And frankly speaking, till this part, you can expect another thing we need to involve is an SOQL and SYSL. Other thing we need to involve is an SOQL and another SYSL. So if we cover with the SOQL and SYSL, then we are clear for this day. I feel like I'm not missing anything. So meanwhile, let me refer, and I have a document with me. Let me refer the document and come back to you. So telling that if I'm missing anything, I will cover again. So let me refer the document once. I just noted the key points which I need to cover in this session. So with that, I feel like I can cover. Yes, I missed something. We call something on context variables, but this is depth topic for you. So context variable, trigger context variables, we call that. Trigger context variables. There are many trigger context variables. Let me paste some context variable. Trigger.new. 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 Trigger.old. Trigger.new map. Trigger.old map. Trigger.new map. Trigger. New map. Trigger.old map. And we also have more things like trigger.is inside. Okay, last one. Trigger.is inside. Okay, I tell you the easy way understanding of these things. So when you use this context variable, the logic gets executed if only the thing is like something is inserting into the database. Something is that in the same way. If trigger.new you are giving, if the record is a new record, then only the logic is going to execute. If that is an old record, then the logic is going to execute. And these are the Boolean operations, which tells about an operation that whether it's a trigger.new or trigger.old or trigger.new map or trigger.old map, and whether the record is going to insert. So the output of the context variable is in a Boolean operation. Boolean. Boolean in the sense it's either true or false. So we are checking with this context variable to execute the piece of logic to know whether that is in a new record or an old record, whether that is in a new map or an old map, whether the record is inserting or not. And you can also go like this, such like trigger dot is update, trigger dot is delete, something like that. Got clear about the context variable? So do I get LWC integration part thing on Salesforce? Again, I don't feel so, but basic Lightning Web Component questions can expect it. Basic Lightning Web Component questions can be expected. Okay, still I'm referring my document for getting other things. Yes, we discussed the collections, batch apex, execution methods, synchronous, asynchronous. And we also discussed basic things about that. Okay, and triggers, we have discussed the triggers. Okay, some scenario questions can be also asked like this. Can I invoke a trigger in the flow? Yes, you can do that. Can I invoke a trigger in the apex? Yes, I can do that. Can I invoke other trigger? Can a trigger invoke other trigger? Yes, even that is possible. Yep, cool then. On the other side, let me go back to the developer console, and as you requested, I will write in a small query editor. So you can write queries in the multiple ways. So see, I'm not going anywhere if I'm within zero knowledge also. So just I'm asking simple SOQL and SOSL query. I'm asking simple, it is giving complex. Which I can execute in the query editor. Yeah, now it's on our track. Now I trained ChatGPT for mine expecting thing. So let me copy this. So here select ID name from the account. So let me go to the developer console. I'm on the developer console and I was on the query editor. Let me give the query. So select is in a keyword, ID is in a field, name is also a field, and the form is in a keyword, and account. We are pulling these details from the account. So now I get a list of records with the field name, ID, and the name account. So I pasted this query, and this there you see there is an execute button. Then I click on that execute button. So I have a list of queries listed over here. Query got run, and I have a list of queries. Okay, and let me go back and let me find same for the SOSL. Okay, find ACME in all fields returning account ID, common name. So if that is there, so queue these details we are asking. Going back and just changing this with this. So find is in a keyword. In all field is in a keyword. This is an account in which object you're, and if this is there, and give me this and this, and also give me this contact ID and first name and the last name details. So now let's get execute. So something is error in the row one in file log written such from such item must be using the process. Want this? We plot this. Something I'm missing here. Definitely, I feel like there is no square brackets. I believe I'm not pretty sure. It's been long time I have been writing. SOSL queries. Most of the times we'll always go for the SOSL. Let me go to SOSL syntax. There on the developer documentation, always I believe the S. Okay, find search query in search group, returning field. Oh, I would have one example to execute this. So these are the different. So if you come here and this is in a syntax, and if you see here, so multiple keywords you can find here. So limit, offset, order by return field. So depending upon your situations, and you can pick any one of this you want, and you can. And we also have an SOQL object also. Introduction to so entire thing you want to learn about the SOQL and SOSL. So this will be the reference document for you. And this is the latest version and which has been released in the Spring 25. That means that's the latest document, I believe. For reference, I'm sharing this document with you. You can go and find all those things. Usani is telling that also they're in trigger context variable, right? I'm not sure what this trigger context variable you're talking about. The interview can be asked. Each individual trigger operations can be explained. Yes, there is a chance, but I'm not pretty sure. Reports and dashboards. Yes, we also have something to be discussed in the report and dashboards. Still, we have one more day, right? So we can. I do discuss that about the reports and dashboards tomorrow apart. And at the same time, there are some logics to be shown, and I also going through those things tomorrow. Any questions from your side? I believe no questions for this day. No questions for this day. Expecting. Actually, nothing is wrong in the trigger code, comma, contact. So let me change this to this base. Let me go like this as well. Set. Coming back to this control V and just let me change this. So I believe it's still it is not executing. I was missing some logic over here. It feels okay. I was right here. Okay, I'm using find and using a sample thing and in all fields returning account and user account and first name. Yes, nothing is wrong in mine. Then what was the reason for that? It's throwing some error for me. No worries. We will solve such kind of errors many. Take some other examples. Just Salesforce Ben and Salesforce Ben doesn't give any example over there. Select again, that's an SOSL. See, most of the times we always use an SOQL queries. SOSL queries are very rare thing. Like in the complex situations, we always go for the SOSL queries. And SOQL is very familiar for us all the time. Somewhere we got some reference. Such query returning object field. Okay. Field and yes, we are going with the find search. Okay. Field list. Yes, so we are right. Just giving multiple trials, like if I was unable to do, definitely I get some kind of scenario for this particularly, and you will check for this. So this is not running. Somewhere I was wrong here, definitely, because if this keyword is not there, then it will run and it will tell that no such a query found. So it is not running. Actually, we have another error. Then no worries. With this, I want to conclude for this day. I don't want to prolong more on this part. And Navin gave some suggestions. Let me find that if that runs. Wonderful. Ishwar is telling that. So am I missing braces? Seriously? Yep. This way I'm using the logic missed from my side. So I'm not using these braces. Instead of I'm using quotations. So that's where it is not working. Cool. And this query has been given by Navin Kumar. Cool, Navin. Yep, I feel everything is clear from my side. Any questions from your side? Please go on. Yes, Navin, thanks for helping me here. Okay, I believe like everyone followed me till this section, and which is the most important thing which have been covered today. So, which will be purely covering as a thing. Yeah, Navin, it's open, right? Then we found that where we are missing the logic. So then now we can execute anything we want. So you want me to execute particularly that query what I'm running? Oh, very thanks. So this part. Okay, then I copy this, then I come here, then I queue this, and from here instead of using this code, I go like this. That's it, and I execute the query. Yes, query has been executed. You can say query has been executed, and I don't have such records found with that keyword. ACME. Cool. Hope this is what Navin is expecting. Cool then. And for the one last time, I want a response from your all side, giving 3 as a response for this time, telling that everything is clear from your side and you all followed me. And with that, we can run the session and still we keep following for tomorrow. 3333. Okay, only 3 responses I got till the time. I was expecting more than this. Keep moving, keep moving. So any other additional topics we need to practice rather than the topics you have been revised? See, for this, I can't tell yes or no. It's kind of yes or no situations. See, the important points which will be asking, which will be covered I was pulling out all the things. If I'm missing something from mindset, mostly we are not missing. Still, you found something. I can learn beyond this. Then you can start learning from your side. Like it's not like we are covering everything. We were covering the most important things which are required, and in a less recap, how I can give in a knowledge from mindset to you. So that's what we are trying. Please share that. Yes, I do. Definitely, I do. Tomorrow, I'm going to do that. I will get some interview questions for you particularly, and I will give. Uh, Conduct and give me some insights. See, as I told that first screening test, once you clear the screening test, and the second thing is like you will be having a one-on-one interview, personal interview. So it's one-on-one round. In one-on-one round, you will be having 1, 2, 3 interviewers, 1 or 2 or 3 interviewers. So by chance you can get 3, 2 or 1 also. We couldn't tell exactly. So there first they will go through your resume and they will scan your resume. Looking at your resume, they will start asking question, and basic thing you want is like basic thing they will observe is communication first. Second, in the communication, tell me about yourself is the most common question you will be expecting. And then going into depth, so they might be asking you about your academics and your project which you have been mentioned in the resume. If not, they would ask why you didn't mention, and at the same time what are the skill sets you are having, like what kind of program languages you can deal. And if you are aware of any tools like Salesforce, any other thing, they will be also going through that. And if you mention Salesforce particularly, there isn't a chance that you can expect questions on the Salesforce particularly. How can we directly recruit by the Salesforce? This is out of the box question in this session. So you can reach me out and you can ask me for that. I can get you on better. I think done from my side. Nothing is there for this today, and we will see tomorrow reports and dashboards, and we will make a quick recap on the different things. And at the same time, we also share some important tips and tricks from my side how to crack an interview based on the Salesforce point. Individual trigger operations are not required. If you tell 1 or 2, that means that more than enough. Salesforce must be there in the skills. Yes, you are right. That's where we are particularly training you on that again and right. How many rounds will be there in the career fair? Mostly 3 rounds. Screening and technical round 1, and then after it mostly you'll be having an HR round. That's it. Very simple. Screening round and technical round, and third round will be the HR round. And don't stick to this again, and it's just my guess. So good night everyone. See you tomorrow again.